Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Shadow Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Shadow SCEPTILE. These battles were submitted to the channel by a fellow content creator and king of Shadow Pokemon himself, Jamie Finn, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Shadow SCEPTILE, much like Shadow Blaziken, is an extreme glass cannon, meaning it's very difficult to use, but it can output a tremendous amount of damage. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow SCEPTILE in action in the Ultra League. Hopping the first match, picking up the Dream Lead, Shadow SCEPTILE into Swampert. Opponent save switches into Giratina, and Giratina will be answered by Shadow Walrein. Opponent is going to be firing off the Dragon Claw. That does not do a lot of damage. Walrein farming up and playing to the CMP tie perfectly. This Icicle Spear is going to hurt. Opponent commits the shield. They are desperately trying to win back switch advantage. We are going to see the Dragon Claw get no shielded by the Walrein. Walrein farming up, again playing to CMP. And this is going to do a lot of damage. It's not going to be enough to KO. Opponent is going to let that through. And now decision time. Do you go for switch or do you take shields? He's going to take shield advantage here, saving shields for potentially Shadow SCEPTILE in the endgame here. We are going to see the Charizard being brought in. Charizard looking for the wing attack. Farm down, not quite able to get there. Giratina with a sliver of HP, able to make it to the Dragon Claw. And that will deal some significant damage. We'll have to see. Opponent, odds are they're probably going to be bringing in the Swampert here, I would imagine, since they fought so hard for switch. And that's exactly what they're going to do, but we get the catch, catching the Hydro Cannon onto Shadow SCEPTILE. Opponent is going to send in a Alolan Muck. Oh my goodness, do they know? Shadow SCEPTILE charging up the Earthquake, one-shots the Muck, and that's gonna be game over. There's just nothing the opponent can do. As I mentioned, this thing hits absurdly hard, and the opponent concedes the match. Picking up a tricky lead in the next match, Shadow SCEPTILE into Walrein. These Powder Snows are going to hurt SCEPTILE, farming up, and we see the perfect catch, catching the Icicle Spear onto the Shadow Walrein, where it does absolutely nothing. Opponent looks like they may not have a great response to an opposing Walrein, as they're actually going to be staying in this matchup. They're going to be firing off the Earthquake. That's going to land, dealing quite a bit of damage, and Jamie is going to return fire here with an Earthquake of his own. Earthquake is going to get a shield from the opponent, continuing to farm up. Will be able to make it to the Earthquake. Opponent, I believe, should be one short here. This should only be an Icicle Spear, and it is. You love to see it. Firing off the Earthquake here. This Earthquake is going to connect and deal a lot of damage. Opponent has a ton of energy, and they are going to start using it. They're going to be firing off the Icicle Spear. That is, of course, going to be lethal, but now with shield advantage and SCEPTILE having an energy lead, things are probably about to get very fun. Shadow Charizard able to farm down. In the back is Empoleon. Empoleon not going to appreciate a Shadow Blast Burn. Blast Burn gets the shield. Aggressive switch into SCEPTILE. Opponent is going to be firing off the Drill Peck. SCEPTILE is going to look to overfarm because we don't know what's in the back, and it's a Venusaur. This is not good, but wait, we have Earthquake. Big damage onto the Venusaur. This thing just hits so hard. Firing off the Leaf Blade. This is double resisted. Even that does a chunk of damage. Now the question is, can a Venusaur be bullet seeded down by SCEPTILE? SCEPTILE gets the farm down. Back in comes Empoleon, and it's Earthquake number 2. Hello, Empoleon. Goodbye, Empoleon. And that is a good game. Dream Lead again in the next match, Shadow SCEPTILE into Swampert. Opponent save switches into Shadow Machamp, and that will be swiftly answered with the Shadow Charizard. Unfortunately, Charizard is going to have to give up a shield here, as Dragon Claw is not enough to KO, and this is going to be the Rock Slide. But the nice thing is, Charizard will get a bit of farm, and that should hopefully let it reach a Blast Burn versus the Shadow Swampert. Back in comes the Swampert. Charizard over farming and forcing CMP. Perfectly done. Blast Burn is going to land. Opponent not willing to shield the move since they know it's going to be aligned against the Grass type. Hydro Cannon is going to KO. In comes the Shadow SCEPTILE. Bullet Seed has never done this much damage in its life. In comes Drapion, and Drapion will be answered with the Walrein. Shadow Drapion fires off the Crunch. That deals massive damage. Wall Rain farming up and going for the Icicle Spear. Basically just needing chip damage here. Gets a shield from the Drapion. That is big. Drapion has so much energy here though. This is tricky. Crunch is going to grab the final shield. Farming up, not quite at the Earthquake, but even so, this Icicle Spear is going to do a lot. Opponent double shields and throws the move, and maybe there's a chance here. Can SCEPTILE sweep? Crunch is going to land. In comes the SCEPTILE, and that's going to be goodbye to the Drapion. Earthquake KOs. Swampert has the Hydro Cannon, but bad news for the Swampert. That is not going to be enough. Shadow SCEPTILE honestly tanked it less well than I thought, but gets the win. Tough lead in the next match. Shadow SCEPTILE into Trevenant. We see a save switch into the Shadow Wall Rain. Opponent is going to bring in their own Wall Rain, but they're behind on energy, which definitely means that they're going to have a tough time keeping switch here. Earthquake is able to land. We see the immediate no shield as Earthquake is not going to be lethal. Opponent goes straight for the Earthquake as well. Jamie with the energy head start, able to make it to another Earthquake, putting pressure on a shield here. Earthquake is going to be shielded by the opponent. Shadow Wall Rain farming up. Actually gonna let this through in case they Icicle Spear, which they do, and that's not going to cut it. Opponent going for another Icicle Spear. Again, we are going to see a no shield from the Wall Rain, as Wall Rain is very good at getting shield advantage, so that way Shadow Charizard and Shadow SCEPTILE can bring some massive damage. In comes the SCEPTILE. SCEPTILE firing off the Leaf Blade and going to win CMB over the Wall Rain. Leaf Blade is going to KO, looking to pivot into the Charizard. In the back, it is Swampert, and this is looking extremely tough. Charizard does have a shield advantage here, but man, this is going to be difficult. Charizard farming up a ton of energy, going for the Blast Burn here. This Blast Burn is definitely going to hurt. Charizard able to land the Blast Burn and is now going to fire off the Dragon Claw, putting pressure on the opponent's shield. Dragon Claw does get the shield. Swampert farming up, firing off another Hydro Cannon. We see Charizard expend the final shield, taking full advantage of the fact that it does have that shield advantage, able to make it to the Dragon Claw. This is going to KO. May need a catch to win. Back in comes the Trevenant, and the switch into SCEPTILE. Let's go. They went for the Shadow Ball. That, of course, is going to KO. Back in comes the Charizard, makes it to the Blast Burn. Masterful gameplay. Down goes Trevenant, and that is a good game. Bit of a tricky lead in the next match. Shadow SCEPTILE into Sirfetch'd. Sirfetch'd, of course, is able to hit very hard, but then again, so is SCEPTILE. We're going to see a shield committed by the Sirfetch'd. Sirfetch'd farming up, and the opponent is going to bank energy on Sirfetch'd and catch a Leaf Blade onto Sylveon. That Leaf Blade still does so much damage to Sylveon. Sylveon honestly has some pretty decent bulk in the Ultra League, so I'm a bit surprised to see Leaf Blade hit that hard onto the Pokemon. Wall Rain farms up, goes for the Icicle Spear, and is going to be able to take care of the Sylveon. We're going to see a no shield here from the Wall Rain, hoping they Night Slash, but they do not. Leaf Blade KOs, but bad news is that now the Sirfetch'd is going to be aligned against the Shadow Charizard. Charizard commits the shield. They're running close combat. What a spicy moveset. What do they have in back? Oh no, they have a Swampert. Charizard, again, the perfect overfarm, forcing the CMP tie. Blast Burn lands, and from here, honestly, you can probably just Bullet Seed down. We do see the shield being used just out of an abundance of caution, basically, as Charizard is going to be able to make it to the double Dragon Claw. First one gets the shield. We see the switch into SCEPTILE, forcing the opponent to throw their energy. They're going to be forced to go for the Hydro Cannon, but Charizard has that Dragon Claw banked. Dragon Claw comfortably takes care of that Swampert, and that's game over. We've got a battle of spice in the next match. Shadow SCEPTILE into Luxray. This Luxray is running Spark, so it is going to be resisted. They are farming up, and they're going to fire off a charge move with the Luxray. Just going to be the Psychic Fangs, but even that does quite a bit of damage. SCEPTILE builds up to the Earthquake, baiting with the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to get a shield. Farming up and just going for another Leaf Blade. Even a neutral Leaf Blade should do a lot here. Leaf Blade almost able to KO. Oh my goodness. And now we're going to see SCEPTILE commit the shield. SCEPTILE looking to farm down. Opponent says not today. They send in Charizard, and Charizard will be answered with the Shadow Wall Rain. This is enough for the Blast Burn. Opponent does full send it, but Shadow Wall Rain able to hang on, withstanding the damage, and gets the return fire with the Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear is able to land, dealing quite a bit of damage. Charizard is going to go for the Dragon Claw, as they do not want to have to commit a shield on an additional Icicle Spear. And now you just wait the clock, send in your own Charizard, and let's get some energy and see what happens. In comes the Shadow Charizard. Charizard looking for the farm down and gets it. Opponent was not able to make it to a move, but the opponent has their own Walrein in the back, and this is where things get interesting. Firing off the Blast Burn, that's able to land. That deals a ton of damage. Switch into the Sceptile. In comes Luxray, able to hold on to the energy, and now the Shadow Sceptile has the back-to-back Leaf Blades. Leaf Blade number 1 gets the shield, able to barely survive that Powder Snow. Make it to Leaf Blade number 2. That is massive overkill, KOing the Walrein, and that's game over. Interesting lead in the next match, Shadow Sceptile into Machamp. Opponent save switches into a Alolan Muck, and Alolan Muck is going to be answered with the Shadow Walrein. Walrein is going to let the first move through in case they go for the Acid Spray, but they do not. They go straight for the Dark Pulse. Walrein farming up, no baiting here, going straight for the Earthquake into the Alolan Muck. Earthquake able to land, and they get KO'd. In comes the Machamp, but due to the overfarm, Walrein makes it to the Icicle Spear, and that is going to deal quite a bit of damage. And now, in comes the Sceptile. Sceptile going to be firing off the Leaf Blade into the Machamp. Machamp does have some energy here, so we will see a shield being used. Sceptile continuing to farm. Opponent throws on alignment, giving Sceptile a free Bullet Seed, but Sceptile is just going to let that go. Sceptile able to withstand the damage with a sliver of HP, grab the final shield, and now it's 2 shield Shadow Charizard versus the world. Opponent, I don't know what they could have in back that could beat a 2 shield Shadow Charizard, but it's not going to be an Empoleon. Empoleon definitely not going to appreciate the neutral Blast Burn here. Blast Burn, big damage, and gets to the Dragon Claw. That waterfall may have KO'd, but Charizard stands strong and gets the win. Moving into the next match, leading Shadow Sceptile into Trevenant. Not a great matchup. We're going to see a save switch into the Shadow Walrein. Opponent overfarming, goes for a catch. They send in their own Swampert. Now, this is not a counter swap whatsoever, so the opponent is clearly incredibly weak to Walrein. At this point, I guess it kind of makes sense. They're just trying to throw away the Swampert as best as they can. Swampert goes for the Earthquake. We see the shield deployed by the Walrein. Walrein trying to win back switch advantage, if at all possible. Icicle Spear is going to KO. Opponent has a move on Trevenant, and they're going to use it here. They're firing off the Seed Bomb into the Walrein. Seed Bomb is not enough, and Walrein able to hang on, making it to the last second Icicle Spear. Icicle Spear is going to grab a shield, and now the opponent has lost switch advantage, which means it is Shadow Charizard time. In comes the Shadow Charizard. In the back, opponent has their own Walrein. This is a bit unfortunate. This Icicle Spear is going to do a lot of damage. Icicle Spear is going to land. Shadow Charizard farming up, firing off the Blast Burn. This Blast Burn is not going to KO, but it is going to hurt. Blast Burn, big damage, and we see the catch onto the Shadow Sceptile. This Icicle Spear does so much damage. Shadow Sceptile looking for the farm down, gets it, and leaves with a Leaf Blade loaded. This is resisted into the Trevenant, but it's going to hurt. That gets the Trevenant incredibly low. And from here, 1 wing attack, or actually make it 2 wing attacks, is going to be enough to KO. Opponent goes for the Seed Bomb, but it's not going to matter. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Sceptile into Gyarados. Opponent save switches into Togekiss. Togekiss is going to be answered with the Shadow Walrein. One of the reasons why Togekiss has fallen out of the meta in a massive way is the fact that it gets absolutely crushed by Walrein. They fire off the Ancient Power. That's going to get the shield, as unfortunately Walrein does lose CMP. Firing back with the Icicle Spear, going for the undercharge. Opponent commits the shield. They're looking to try and win switch, but that's just not possible against the Walrein. Walrein goes for Icicle Spear. They double shield, and their Togekiss is just not going to get the job done. As they double shielded the Charmer, they lose both shields, and they lose switch advantage. In the back is Cobalion. Cobalion does have an energy lead here. In comes the Shadow Charizard. Farming up the switch and the catch of what could be a Stone Edge onto Sceptile. And it is, what a catch. Cobalion staying in. Oh, that's going to be a mistake. Sceptile gets to the Earthquake. That's going to be goodbye, Cobalion. In comes the Gyarados. And now it's Gyarados versus Charizard. This is a bit scary, but the good thing is Charizard did have a small energy lead and a shield advantage. Shadow Blast Burn is going to hurt. That deals big damage to the Gyarados. And the Dragon Claw is loaded as well. So all Charizard has to do is tap the Dragon Claw, and that is a good game. And now some final thoughts on Shadow Sceptile and its place in the Ultra League meta. First thing I will say, to me this definitely feels like a pick more for fun than for climbing. While it can output a tremendous amount of damage, the mono typing plus the fact that it's very, very frail can definitely make it difficult to use, and with a lot of common meta picks being extremely tanky, it can oftentimes find itself in a stat product battle from which it cannot emerge victorious. However, if you're looking to have some fun, I feel like Shadow Sceptile is a pretty good candidate. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.